Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to be talking to a close brother of mine, Anik, who left Islam after being raised in a Muslim family and took his Shahada a few weeks ago.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. It's your brother Anik here. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what my story is, my background, before we go into the rest of the video. So I came from a Pakistani Muslim family. My parents were both Muslim. I grew up learning about Islamic traditions and I learned about the religion itself. But I grew up in an environment where I wasn't really surrounded by Muslims. So what happened is that I diverted my belief system into an atheist belief system. The root of that, I think, maybe was arrogance, and maybe also the people that I surrounded myself with. When I reached the age of 16, I was a little bit more mature. I was going through a few things, and my mother said to me, you know, out of respect for me, maybe go research the religion. I researched the religion from the ages of 16 to 20, and I'm 20 years old now. And a few weeks ago, I took my Shahada. And yeah, so far, I've been a Muslim for about 3.5 weeks. The experience has been enjoyable. My life has seen a change in it. I've started praying more. I can see the happiness in my life and also the happiness in my parents' life, which is brilliant. I think without further ado, we'll move into the rest of the video. That's all pretty much from me. So thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the video.
So before you adopted Islam, what were your perceptions of Muslims?
I think before I actually looked into Islam, I think my perception of Muslims was a bit kind of misconstrued.
Yeah.
So based on what the media had told me.
Yeah.
But it was also based on my own sort of prejudices, I guess, which I don't know, maybe they come from social, maybe they come from my background, again, like I said before.
Yeah.
You know, the Muslims that I would hang around with, you know, go Jummah go Jummah, and then we come back, and the next thing you know, they're drinking up. So, you know, my perception sort of came as, you know, maybe a bit hypocritical, maybe they didn't really understand what they believe. But again, this was an ignorant opinion because I didn't research the religion myself. Yeah. So yeah, that would be my opinion.
I've heard a lot of people say stuff like that, but I think we need to make a clear distinction between Muslims and Islam. Because we do that with regards to terrorism, but then we don't talk about it when it's in relation to sinning generally on a day-to-day basis.
Definitely.
So just because someone says they're a Muslim and they sin, it doesn't really make them less of a Muslim, it just makes them a sinning Muslim.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I feel that's important with a lot of things as well, like the little things. Again, if you get it by the root, like you said before, then I think that's a way to solve a lot of maybe anti-Islamic views in the country as well.
So what's your opinion on the lack of Islamic teaching in public schools?
I think that when it comes to teaching about Islam, I feel like a lot of what we learn is what we find in the media, and that's kind of sad, because when it comes to Christianity, these are things we learn throughout school. I mean, I went to a Christian majority primary, secondary, and the infant school. So, you know, every morning was the, you know, wake up, go to school, morning assembly, sing hymns. So I knew about, you know, Jesus, I knew about all the different things, but I feel like when it comes, and they had media attention as well. But when it came to Islam, the only thing that I saw was negativity. And I think it was difficult for, especially with us two, I think, because we grew up, you know, post 9/11 period as well. Again, same with me, you know what I mean? And a lot of ignorant opinion. I grew up with, you know, being called, you know, so and so, you know, I was fat anyway, you know, I was a fat kid that didn't fit in, socially awkward. And then next thing you know, I'm getting called these names post 9/11 that I didn't understand. And then when I actually looked up, you know, why was I being called this?
Well, do you mean racist terms or?
I wouldn't say racist, because you know, you can't. Islam, the best thing about Islam is that it's, you know, there's no race involved in Islam.
No. I mean, were people racially abusing you?
Because of the colour of my skin. Yeah. I think they were, but I think it was more, you know, more to do with the presumption that I was a Muslim. So they were like, oh, you know, you're Muslim, you know, therefore you must be associated with these things. That, you know, these are things that we always hear. Again, you know, the only thing I think school needs to do more is talk about the content of Islam. In other words, the Quran, you know, and the Hadith, and you know, the Sunnah and stuff like that. So the question is, can children at that age handle that sort of content and that sort of information?
Well, yeah, I think they can, if they're not bombarded with other information like to do with atheism and other religions. I think they should stick to teaching the arguments for God more than they do currently. I think teachers are more encouraged to talk about atheism, and I think that's more due to their own religious beliefs rather than for the betterment of society, for example.
Well, I mean, as someone who was sort of on the opposite side, I would say at one point, right?
Yeah.
My question to you, if I, was an atheist, would be, why is it that we should prioritize religious beliefs? What's so important about religious beliefs?
Yeah.
What do they bring, and why should we encourage them to be taught in school? Why are we not teaching stuff like science?
Well, I think the answer to that would be, we live in a multicultural society, a multi-faith society, when in order to understand the different group of people, you need to understand what they believe. And I think that's why religious studies was like introduced into schools. I just feel that now it's being, the emphasis is being placed more on atheism.
I think as well with if you look at census data, for example,
yeah.
I think obviously if you look at religious beliefs, because atheism isn't actually a religious belief,
yeah.
but Islam is the second biggest religion in the UK.
Yeah,
right?
second in the world.
And it's also the fastest growing in the world, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like, we should teach, I'll be honest with you, I think we should teach Christianity, I think because it's something that people of this country can relate to,
yeah.
because it's the majority belief.
However, the issue I do have with that is, for example, in my school, Christianity was the main thing we were taught, along
yeah.
with atheism. Yeah. So people would find a lot of contradictions within Christianity,
yeah.
and then because of that, they would lose faith in God. Whereas if they were taught Islam, then I don't feel they would lose faith in God.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a question of whether or not children are educated well enough,
yeah.
or sincere enough, yeah. to look at an argument and say. I mean, sincerity comes with maturity, I think. Yeah, with me, at least, this was the case. Yeah. When I was younger, I don't think I was as sincere as I was. I wouldn't be able to look at something and say, okay, let's critically evaluate this and objectively and say, okay, does this make sense? Does this not make sense? I couldn't do that. I was, emotionally invested in certain things. Yeah. Right? But
I think that maturity is carried on in the lives of many other people, because a lot of people these days, for example, in Speaker's Corner, they go with their point of view and they're not willing to change it, even if a better argument comes along.
Oh, I see. Yeah, definitely.
So what impact do you think school had?
I think if you look at what school or how school influenced me, I think it influenced me in two ways. Yeah. Right. I wouldn't say a negative and a positive side, right? Yeah. I'm going to say, firstly, it influenced me in criticizing my beliefs, and then choosing out of my own arrogance and ignorance to abandon those beliefs. Oh, right. Okay. So I was able to criticize through school, and then my own personal arrogance, I chose to abandon it, right?
Completely.
But the other side of the coin with that is, with those same critical thinking and, with that same critical thinking and the same, ability to check the details, I was also able to re-examine the religion later on in life when I gained a bit of maturity.
That makes sense.
And then I eventually, alhamdulillah, accepted it. So the school has both how they say a little knowledge is dangerous, right? Yeah. It's like the same thing, basically. A little knowledge was dangerous because I was arrogant at the time.
Would you say the school overburdened you with irrelevant information, or?
I think in the eyes of a teenager, between the ages of, whenever secondary school is 11, 12 to 16, right? You think all the information you're learning is irrelevant, and but yes, I think they did bombard me with a lot of irrelevant information. However, if you look at it, the skills they teach you from looking at that irrelevant information is more important. And I'll be honest with you, if it wasn't for those skills that I learned, I don't think I'd be able to even articulate myself in a way that would allow me to, judge Islam and criticize Islam. I don't think I'd even be able to do that if it wasn't for school. So school does play a big part, both positively and negatively, I guess.
Yeah. But for me personally, I would say, especially because I did religious studies at A2, AAS and A2. Okay. In that we studied a lot about atheism and in relation to Christianity. Yeah. And for me personally, I feel that Christianity has a lot of flaws in the sense that the Trinity, the resurrection of Jesus.
That's a whole other video.
Yeah, exactly.
I really like that. I understand what you're saying. I mean, if you do look at religious beliefs in you know, fine detail, then you will find, you know, there are certain things that don't make sense, right? But I think the important thing is that if you don't think something makes sense, get a credible second opinion.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, leave a comment and subscribe. If you want to see more of Anik, don't forget to comment down below.
If you don't want to see more of me, too bad, because I'm going to be in it anyway, right?